Alrighty folks, want to welcome you back to another video from Yates Computers Tips and Reviews. So this video will kind of be a follow-up to my modern technology video that I had earlier, that I showed stuff like Wi-Fi access points, cell phones. This one is really kind of a hard video for me to do because this is about cloud-based stuff. Cloud-based I never really thought was going to take off due to all the security concerns, all the security risks, everything that's going on with just generally being on the cloud. How secure it is, who's securing your data, what's going on, backup purposes, what is getting done with what. I think there's been a lot of innovation and a lot of technology that has come into the field out there that was really needed before this stuff can actually develop and take off. Stuff like doing backups, making sure your data is secure. That is a little bit more you can control when you have a physical device right in front of you where you can plug in a USB drive and say, okay, back up. And it's backing up to that drive. You can actually open that drive and verify that data is actually physically there. How much data is there? So nowadays you have cloud to cloud backups. You have all these other type of things that are going on that really there's no way for you to actually verify, is that data there? Unless you actually go through and do all these restore tests and do all of these things and all these practice. It's actually all best practice to do these things, but I bet most businesses really do not do disaster recovery reinstallations to see if their backups are actually working. That is actually best practice to do. That is what you're supposed to do. But I know most businesses that I've talked to and dealt with do not do that because they don't have the time. They don't have the chances that if something don't come back up, they're down. Why break something when it's already working? So a lot of places I know don't do any of that testing. They do the backups and they have it there and they have it secure and they have it in multiple places in case it's needed. But a good disaster recovery plan is, as long as you have your databases and you have all your data saved, you're usually okay. You have all your programs and all of that stuff. In case you need to reinstall it, you can reinstall it. It boils down to downtime. How much downtime you have. There's a lot of things out there cloud-based now that can guarantee you, like, no downtime. Of course, it's going to cost you a lot of money because what they're doing is they're taking your database, they're doing multiple snapshots all day, and then if there's a problem, they can recover back to a certain point and then pull all your data and put it all back together, and it's back up and running. There's solutions out there with like an hour downtime that are fairly a good rate. But of course you can get down to 15, 10 minutes downtime, whatever. And if you're in a business that online gaming or something like that, that could be millions of dollars in 15 minutes, yeah, it might be worth something like that. But that's where the technology's at that really kind of surprised me that, wow, it's like, whoo, it's like things have moved on, but I can understand if you have a second-by-second business that you need to be online. There's other factors that come involved with now trust of your site, reputation of your site, all these other things that come into play because let's say somebody's shopping for something and your site goes down for 2 hours and they need it. Well, they couldn't find it, so they go to another site, another vendor, buy it there. Are they necessarily going to stay with that vendor or are they going to come back to you? That, it's probably 50-50. If I have a good vendor that I buy a lot from, And okay, yeah, maybe there's an internet outage somewhere. It's not really the vendor's fault. It's not really a lot they can do. Instead of paying millions of dollars for having redundant and triple internet access and all of this stuff, maybe I'm inconvenienced for a couple hours. Maybe I can go buy it from this vendor and get it out if I need it right away. Or maybe you could call the vendor if you have a long time reputation with them. But again, if their internet's down, maybe their phones are down. Everything's down. You can't get a hold of them. Maybe you just send them an email. Hey, I see your site's down and I need to get this out as soon as possible. Most vendors will take care of that. As soon as their network's up, they see these emails in, they will run it and process it as fast as possible because that is part of the reputation of the business. You're their key reason why they're in business. Yeah, they might close usually at 5 o'clock, but guess what? If the network's down and stuff, you're usually going to have somebody there working after 5 because they want to get that back up. They might just give you a call, say, hey, sorry, we'll get it in the next day. Is that okay? There's some things you can deal with. And this is the future. This is the new cloud-based stuff that is out there. So I wanted to kind of sum that up because I'm doing a lot of research and catching up with all the cloud technology that's out there myself. And wanted to touch base on that because it's important for you to know what this is going to. And this is everybody's new modern tech. This too. You go to a shopping site, either device, it's taking you to pretty much the same location. Some have a mobile site, some have a different site depending on what they're doing. But most of the sites now are designed so it comes up on either or. So you have these features. You have this stuff out there that is all cloud-based. Most businesses, I think, in the future aren't going to have big server rooms and all this. They're going to have their switches that you have to provide the lines out. Possibly. This new Wi-Fi 6 second gen or whatever they want to call it is looking really impressive that maybe this stuff go away and you get the new stuff. All these network lines and stuff might just go away. So, wanted to get this out there so you are aware of the new tech. If you're a small business, I can't even tell you cloud-based wouldn't work for you. It may work for you. I remember trying to do small business stuff. You had to have your computer. You were always on there looking at stuff. Now you can do it all from here. I remember doing drop ship business. I didn't even need this. It had nothing to do with anything. Order came in, it went in, boop, 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 all in the system. Email was generated out to the company that needed to drop ship, that needed to mail out the product, basically the warehouse. But it's a separate company that has their own warehouse that has the product, and they mailed it out to the address. The money went into the account. They got paid. The little bit that I made went into my account. All done. I didn't do a thing. A lot of businesses are set up that way. When you order stuff and it goes through another party and other stuff, a lot of stuff all gets done. When you pay through some of these online payment services where they charge someone a fee when you processes it, they take their fee and they send that money that way. It's all done. There's nobody touching it. So now that you have all this cloud-based and all this other stuff out there, it might be really viable for a small business. Because depending on what you're doing on that, makes it a lot easier for you. as a small business. You get into a medium and large business where you start having email distribution and you have all these other type of things. That's multiple services you got to run out there on the cloud. And if you're a big business, you understand exactly what I'm talking about. And you're probably giggling at me because I'm way behind on the curve on that right now. But this is something for the smaller businesses, medium businesses to kind of look at. But again, you got to watch the security, you got to watch backups, you got to watch a lot of things. And you got to check how your on-site is communicating to your cloud base. There's a lot of security there. So I wanted to sum that up because when I research it, nobody puts it all together. It's this piece or that piece or this piece or that piece or these pieces or those pieces. All different pieces. And it's like, can you put it together? You're driving me crazy. How does this tie to this and this tie to that? But you're telling me this and this tie together, but this ties to that, and then that ties to that, but that don't really talk to that. That has to go through that to go. It gets crazy. Just wanted to give you a rough definition of how a lot of this stuff is. So, as a home user, when you go online, to be aware where you're actually going. If you go to your bank website, it's not the bank right down the street you're actually logging into. You're logging into these cloud servers that are everywhere around the world in secure locations and everywhere else. Just watching a video on some underground caves and all of these type of old bomb structures and all of this stuff, I thought it was really interesting how a couple of them they converted into data centers. Makes sense. It's underground, stays cool, has a blast door, has all this stuff. Nobody can get into it. Nobody can nuke it. Nobody can hit it with some kind of ultrasound or any kind of waves because it's underground. It's secure. Nobody can corrupt the data unless you actually physically breach it or get in and breach a server another way with some virus or something else. But it's physically secure. I kind of thought, well, that's kind of interesting. But then I thought, I wonder if people really know that's where all your data is. So that's kind of what kind of brought this around. This video was to explain all of this cloud stuff that's out there now. That if you're a medium business and you're running your whole server room off of this little like computer I got over here, little tiny thing I have a video on, you can pretty much run your whole business off of them. That would be your whole server. Have a video on what's a server, what's not a server. That kind of changes a lot of ratios there. Because you can use that little tiny computer. You can use a standard little mini computer type. You know, the smaller platform I have, or the full server rack. And you probably only will need one. Because that server will go out onto the internet and communicate to all your different cloud-based stuff and communicate back, and then it gets communicated to your building. So if you're a giant corporation that has 50 buildings, 100 buildings, and imagine you used to have 25 servers in a building times, 100 buildings to go from one server to 100 buildings, where now you only have 100 servers instead of 2,500. So there's a lot there that kind of was a shocking kind of scenarios that kind of surprised me because I didn't really research it and look into it a lot. But then when I did find this information, I kind of, so I kind of wanted to bring this out, that this is where a lot of the businesses are going or have been going, and it's really become popular because of a lot of the technology. So if you're looking at going that route, maybe doing a business online, doing web hosting, doing anything on, a little marketplace store. It's not the same as it used to be where you had to have a fixed IP, you have to have a server, you have to have all of this stuff running, you have to put your web hosting software on there, you got to put your site on there, and then you got to have your computer so that you can access and do what you want because you don't want to be using the server because the server is based as a server. This is why this video is, because now all of that just gone. You don't even technically need a computer anymore. You got all these little smart things that you can use. Little tablets, little phones, You don't need a full-blown computer anymore. So that's why I was doing this video, to point out really where a lot of this new cloud-based stuff is at. If you're interested, you're really going to have to look and do some research, because there's no way I can even cover 10% of what's out there in even an hour video. Just backup wise, all that's there. There's security features you can implement, encryptions, of course user rights, and all of those other things that come into play that are a little bit better. Of course, every year technology gets more, a little bit more security, a little bit more stuff gets added. You get more stuff. There are actually vendors out there that will actually monitor all your stuff. You can have multiple internet pathways links in. You can have multiple site replication. So if this server goes down over here, it can be transferred to another server with no downtime, no loss, no nothing. There's a lot of other things where if you have a physical server and that server goes down, power goes out, power company turns off your power because they are in risk of fires now. They shut off everybody's electricity because of the winds, because they've been sued over fires and all kinds of other stuff. You don't have to have a generator. Well, not to mention, your generator might not work for you. It might give your house power, but if your internet's down because all of the power's out, city power, telecom power, all of that type of power is out, natural disasters, earthquakes, tornadoes, all of those type of things, you might lose total power. All communications, everything. That server ain't going to do you no good. If you have a default where it duplicates over to another server and all of that type of stuff, and you lose power over here, it goes over here, and your site's still up. So you might be out of power in one part of the world or country where the whole rest of the world can still access your site. So I wanted to do a little quick video on this to explain all of this cloud base, because I can't go into too much detail because there's so much of it, but this is the new modern tech way of doing things. And to me, like I said before, I did not really expect all this cloud space stuff to take off. I know they were starting to use it for storage. Oh, your computer's full, store it to the cloud. Store it to the cloud. Store it to the cloud. And then pretty much they got to a point where, oh, you want your email online so you don't have to physically manage your server and all of this type of stuff. But again, the kicker is you move those sources off site to the cloud, you still have to have a server that communicates to it. They still have to talk back and forth. So where it's getting interested is now you move your email, you move your domain controller, you move some shared files, you move whatever kind of other server you have, phone server, you go to IP phones, that's all controlled. Well, now you took, let's say 5 servers that you had physically, put them on the cloud, but they only need one connection back into the building. That means those other 4 go away. You need one physical unit to communicate out to those units because it's out on the internet. You don't need 5 different internet connections out to 5 different servers. You have software that will communicate back and forth. Your power. Cut down on your power. Cut down on your AC on that room because now you have one computer. I wouldn't even say a server, a computer that is communicating. Yeah, you'll probably end up using an actual server class computer because it's better performance. You can do better security. You can do a lot of other things on there before it goes out onto your network. And you have, the certain features that you have with the server compared to running a typical computer. But I don't really see too many reasons why you can't use a typical computer. I'm sure everybody will come out and say, no, you can't use it because of this and that and that and this and that. But, go ahead and leave your comments. It's interesting to hear all of that, to see all of those kind of comments. But maybe today it's better for you to use a physical server. But in a year from now, maybe all that will change with some new technology. So that's where I kind of thought this was interesting. It's at a point where I can actually tell people, hey, go look and see. Before, it was not. It was just kind of like, oh, we'll give you space you can share files on. Okay. Oh, you can do your backups over here. Okay. What backs up the backup? Well, you'd have to do a USB drive backup. There was no other sources that were, you do this and then you can do that to make sure that's secure. And there was no real encryption. There was no real password security. There was a website you logged into and you put your stuff on. Well, how secure was that and all of that type of stuff? A lot of that technology is totally changed and brought up to modern tech style stuff. So maybe I'll wrap this one up. I know it probably didn't go into a lot of detail, but this is kind of one of those things I wanted to bring light out to because it really seems like this is a big, big thing and it's gonna be the way of the future. It's gonna be everybody doing this. It's gonna be your home OHAs. It's gonna be your home clubhouses. It's gonna be, everybody's probably gonna be on the cloud. Just because you have to have internet pretty much to function anyways nowadays. So why have all these servers over here when you can just put one little thing over here and give your couple workstations and all that stuff's out somewhere else? Not to mention, you could pay a couple $1,000s or whatever it is a year to have a monitoring service or whatever that could monitor that. That's off-site where you don't have to worry about them actually accessing your stuff. So that's some of those little things that are out there that I've been seeing. If I find more, I'll probably do a follow-up on this. But this is really an educational, informative video because this is going to follow my at least 4 presentations of PowerPoint that are some security things that a lot of people probably don't understand. Goes back to the last video of modern tech. Is what generation are you on this tech? I consider myself pretty much a first generation. I was there, when the computers were coming out. I grew up, with an Apple, and then I went to an Apple IIe, and then I went to a modern CPU computer and that type of stuff with the drives and all of that stuff. 365, 486 processors, all of that old stuff. I've seen it. I have some actually in storage, some of that old stuff. But I have a lot of stuff that is obsolete now. You can't use it. With Windows 11 coming out, it's almost everything here is obsolete and has to go. So, this is why the new generation and the new tech is coming out and all of this stuff. And it's kind of interesting, kind of surprising to me about all this stuff that's out there, what these systems can do, how they can do it, how they perform, and what you're actually going to need probably in the future. If you watch my video on what computer I put in here, you'll probably be shocked. Do all my streaming from, do all my capturing from, all that stuff from a little tiny computer. Go back to my server video. I have different size computers that I've shown. All of this stuff is probably going to be more important in the future because those big giant servers, big rackable servers, I don't know if there's going to be a future for that in your home or business. In your home, probably not. In your small, medium, and probably supersized, like big businesses, supersized large businesses, I think those servers have pretty much disappeared. And if there is one, there's probably one. Probably not a whole rack anymore. Because everything's gone cloud-based. You need that one server that communicates out to the cloud. So that's basically what I wanted to sum up. I know most home users are probably like, this don't matter. But it's kind of important to know the factors of what's out there. And because of all the other videos that I'm putting out right together, it's kind of important with those other videos. So let me wrap this one up. I want to thank everybody for watching. Make sure you hit the subscribe, hit the bell. Again, on this video and the last video I mentioned, those PowerPoint presentation videos, if you want your employees to watch them, be trained, be educated on that, because it's not only for business. This can be used for home, this could be used for schooling, this could be used for everything. This is general information to do with your tech, to understand what is going on, where you're at, what you're seeing. Feel free to send them all over to my YouTube channel. Have them all subscribe. I wouldn't mind. I would love that. If you actually want to share that video with your employees and show them, feel free. I give you permission to do that. But, of course, I would love them all to come to my site and subscribe and get all of their friends to come on over too. Get my site to grow. But these videos I really wanted to put out there to make sure everybody's aware, because they're not first gen people anymore. We're up to third, fourth gen computer users that may not remember all the guidelines and rules that were back then. These rules are still in play. They're not, oh, that's okay, that was just for that time and that's it. Actually, things are worse than when computer technology first came out. So, let me wrap this one up. And again, thank you for watching. Go back, watch all my other videos. Thank you.